Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Liz and this is Let's Get Lizicle, where we do everything card making. Last year, this type of card was a pretty big hit, so I decided to revisit it a little bit differently this year. So we're doing the same kind of layout. I originally tried doing it with a diamond shape, but then realized that the angles would be different, so it's definitely way easier to try to do this with a square. So I would recommend that. You could try doing it with diamond nesting dies and do frames and maybe do it that way. But that would just be like a little bit more work, I think. I think it's just easier to start off with a square shape placed on a 45-degree angle, the way I've done it here, and then go from there. So what I did last year was I added gold strips around the square as I did here, and then in each quadrant of the card I added a pattern paper, and that card turned out great. I loved it, and a lot of other people did as well. So I just want to show you how you can do this with card strips as well. I have 3 different examples for the backgrounds. I only finished one of them into a card for now because I'm not sure what I want to do with the other 2 yet. But the first 2 I do, I'm not a huge lover of them. I would say this first one here is probably my second favorite though. The one I do next is probably my third. And then the third one that I do is my favorite, and that is the one that I turn into the card. So with this one, I added the strips so that they were parallel with each edge of the square. In the second one, I'll do it a little bit differently, and then the third one I do the opposite, where they run perpendicular. So instead of putting the strips in this direction, we'll be putting them in the opposite direction, which you'll see soon, if that makes sense. But again, I'm using my 8.5 by 11 inch sticker paper to help hold down all these strips. You could use double-sided adhesive sheets or tape on a piece of paper, or however you prefer doing this type of method. You can use liquid glue if you want. I just find it a lot easier using the shipping label paper because it's cheaper than double-sided adhesive sheets, and I can usually try to place and replace things if they're a little bit off, because the tack on it is not super sticky. Like, it's sticky enough to hold the card together, but if you lay it down gently and it's a little off, you can always peel it up a bit and then fix it. And sometimes I do have to add a little bit of glue to the back, which is what I did with the white square on this one, because I peeled the diamond off. I didn't want to waste the rest of the sticker paper, so I just decided to glue it down over top where I had the diamond. And then for this one, this is where I'm realizing I was kind of telling myself cut there, but I decided to actually leave these in. Originally, I was only going to show one version, but I decided to show you all 3 instead. Just to give it a little bit more variety. Everyone's opinions are different, so maybe someone likes version 1 better than 2 and 3, or they like number 2 better than 1 and 3. But again, like last year, we filled each of these sections in with a different pattern paper, so you could try doing that again if you're not into the strips. Or you could do one section with the strips on like opposite sides and then do patterns on the opposite side and kind of mix up the 2 methods together. That might be fun. So maybe I'll try doing that at some point, and then I'll just post a picture on my Instagram because we don't need to do another video. But for this one, I decided to kind of put them in like a V shape. So you could probably do this with square nesting dies and then just cut a bunch of frames and just kind of offset them to align with the box here and do it that way instead of doing the strips. I like to do the strips. But what I meant from before is like you could do all of the ones that are perpendicular in red and the ones that are parallel in green or something like that. You can kind of build out color blocked sections, or you can still do this and do an entire section in one color. You would just get that texture that the strips give, especially because I cut these with the dies, so it gives a little bit of a bevel. which you kind of see on the silver cardstock, because when it's on this angle, it looks like there's a white gap between the silver and the red, but because of the way the light hits that beveled edge, it kind of makes it look like I made a mistake. But like all of these strips are like right up against one another, so don't worry about that. You see that as I turn the card around. So you could also do it this way again, where you do red stay on the vertical one and then green on the horizontal one, and then do green on the vertical one and then red, and then kind of switch them back and forth that way. Or like there's just like a different bunch of different ways you could do this, and you could again mix patterns and strips of solid color, or you could again use nesting dies to create frames, just so you're not getting like these seam lines in here as well. I don't mind it. It just adds a little bit more texture. It kind of looks a little bit more quilty. If you wanted to, you could probably put this through an embossing folder afterwards, because like the backing on this is super thin paper, and then I'm only using the 65-pound cardstock from Michaels. So it's all like a pretty lightweight panel. You can put this into an embossing folder, maybe not a 3D one, but maybe like a shallower embossing folder would work good. And you can make this look like a quilt. There's just like a bunch of different possibilities with this. You could add way more colors. I only did red and like a tealy green here for all three of my panels, just because those are the colors I was going for. But normally I do like a red and green version and then like a blue version for a more like cool holiday card, less traditional Christmas. And this time I just did them all in the same color, but they're all different, so they're still one of a kind cards, because that's what I do. I make sure that every single one of my cards is just a little bit different, either in the colorway or the layout. So in this case, we're using the same colorway for all three cards and the same starting base. So all of them have a 2-inch white square turned on a 45-degree angle, and then we're going to frame it in the silver. And then we're just going to use red and green strips. And I like doing these cards. They kind of become like mindless work where you can just kind of zone out and put these together. Whether you do it quickly or not is up to you and how quickly you are at laying these types of things out. You can take your time with it. You can again have fun with the colors, do an ombre of cardstocks if you wanted, which would be cool. Like if you did like a dark to a light blue or something in each of these. Add more than the two colors. I like the red and the teal together just because it's a little bit more fresh of a Christmas palette, instead of a standard like traditional like pine green or something. But really you could just use whatever colors for whatever occasion. Like this is just, you know, for layout purposes anyway. And plus it's Christmas in July, so we needed a Christmas themed one. And again, I think this one's my favorite one visually. I just like the way that the lines kind of radiate, I guess, out from the center square. It just looks more appealing to me this way. And then each section I did start it in a different color. And I think I tried to alternate it back and forth. So one section I started with red, the next one I did green, and then red and green. And it looked much better than the other ones, in my opinion. But again, everybody's opinion differs, so maybe your favorite is a different one. But, you know, let me know down in the comments which one of these backgrounds is your favorite and what would you do with them. For the card that we're putting together today, I am just going to take out my Sassy Santa stamp set and stamp my Merry Christmas sentiment from that set, and then die cut it out in the same white cardstock that I used in the center. I didn't want to stamp it directly to the card base itself because I wanted to A, not mess it up, and then B, again, because of the humidity here when I did the card, my inks were smudging and I wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to do that, so I ended up using VersaFine black ink and heat embossing it with clear so that I didn't have any smudging issues. You'll see that I just used my brayer here on the backgrounds. I'm just like pressing in those strips a little bit harder. I thought I was going to get rid of one of the backgrounds, so I think that's why I only did 2 of them, but I decided I'm going to keep all 3. I'm going to do something with them eventually, but we're only going to be decorating this one today, which is my favorite panel. I also accidentally got some glue on my panel, so we're going to cover that up with some embellishments in a bit. It is, again, clear and it will, you know, dry that way, but it does leave a little bit of a mark, especially because these are just like solid strips. There's nothing there to really like hide it. It didn't really want to erase off. Sometimes I can get the glue off right away if I kind of like smear it and then use the adhesive eraser. But this time we'll just cover it up with some embellishments, which we can usually do most of the time. If you ever make a mistake, see if you can either fix it or cover it up with something, as long as it doesn't look too unnatural or throws off your design. Try to fix it as much as possible, just because you really don't want to have to redo it again. But if you have to redo it again, you have to redo it again. It's only paper, so just recycle it and start over. It's not a problem. Trust me, I've redone cards many, many times before and was worried that I was going to have to do this one. Has anybody else bought the magnetic plates, by the way, for their cutting machine? For some reason, the plates that I had, one of them was extremely tight and got stuck in my machine. It took me a hot minute to get it out, but it like just like pushed the top layer, I'm assuming, over the magnet. It's not like adhered to the magnet properly, I'm assuming, but it just kind of like bunched up and that plate is no longer usable. And even the second plate that I had, because I bought 2 because thought I was gonna love these, and the second one, even that wasn't like a super tight squeeze or anything, but it still like bunched up the cutting surface on the magnetic side, and I'm not loving it. Like I'm not gonna purchase these again. It could be me, but like I said, the second time around, I didn't even like, it was normal pressure from my cutting machine, and it still like wrinkled the crap out of the cutting plate. Let me know if anybody else has had this issue. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I have an old cuddle bug, so maybe it's just being difficult. But anyway, here I am using the clear sequins. These ones are from Studio Katya, which are no longer in business, but a lot of the companies have these out now, so I'll try to link something similar in the description below. So that's pretty much our card, and then here are other options for backgrounds, which I'll figure something out later for. But if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment down below, and let me know your thoughts. And until next time, thanks guys, bye.